listening to 91 Reasons, a journey into the twisted landscape of pop culture. Keep your hands and arms inside the podcast at all times. And now, the voice, Jeff Tucker.
We live in an era where these studios launch these massive film campaigns, and these movies are going to become franchises whether you like it or not. And when they make a lot of money, they're supposed to sell a lot of merchandise too. Two big examples are, they're both Marvel movies. And Marvel movies at this point are all, they're all destined to be big franchises. The hiccup in it is Black Widow, which, didn't come out because nothing came out over the summer. And I think I've said it before, but if this had happened when I was a teenager and they shut down the movie theaters for the summer, I don't know what I would have done. I did a lot of reading before I got big enough to ride my bike to the movies, but once I did that, that's all I did. So this would have been the worst. I mean, it is the worst summer of my life because my place where I work couldn't open, and there's no movies, and there's no restaurants, and blah, blah, blah. But Black Widow is the exception. Two big examples are Captain Marvel and Black Panther. These are movies that they came out. They're big, massive movies. But the merchandise doesn't sell very well. All that Captain Marvel stuff, and they had a lot of it, all went to clearance. Some of the Black Panther stuff did sell, but a lot of it, like the Rhino, right, that you could bash and crash against things, didn't sell. Some of the role play stuff didn't sell, and they had to put it all on clearance. And I can only think before that, the stuff that went to clearance, and I know this because when it goes to clearance is when I finally buy it, because I'm very cheap. But I bought some of the Guardians of the Galaxy merchandise because they put out the ship, the Milano, but it was only in a size where these little tiny figures went into it. And I remember buying that on clearance. They had figure 2-packs and the ship, and I bought that, and then I ended up getting rid of it because I'm trying to pare down. I have too many collections. But I do follow the merchandise, the movie. I mean, that's one of the main themes of the show is, we'll review the movie, but there's also the merchandise that goes with it. Because that's how I grew up. That's how, Star Wars, Empire, Jedi, big movies with big merchandise pushes. Batman, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Dick Tracy. Those all had big, big merchandise pushes. The movies that I love the most didn't. Back to the Future had virtually no merchandise. Beetlejuice had no merchandise until the cartoon came out. So you had to wait. But they got savvy once everybody saw what Batman had done, that they had taken this comic book thing and churned out a product that seeped into every aspect of pop culture, and everybody was into Batmania. Everybody wants to duplicate that, and why wouldn't you? And sometimes they get it right, and sometimes they don't. I like to highlight the ones that didn't, because I think they're more interesting. But wow, 1998, summer 1998, Small Soldiers comes out. And this movie had been hyped for a while, mega hyped in all the movie magazines, Premiere, Entertainment Weekly, and the toy magazines, because yes, I used to collect toy magazines. I still have some. Tomart's Action Figure Digest, and Action Figure News and Toy Review. And Wizard Magazine, and Toy Fair Magazine. Oh my God, I'm such a nerd. But Small Soldiers was hyped, directed by Joe Dante, the guy who directed Gremlins, Gremlins 2, Explorers, one of the segments in Twilight Zone, Inner Space. He had done a lot of genre pictures that I enjoyed, I really enjoyed Gremlins. Explorers is a guilty pleasure of mine. But Joe Dante always has the same problem with his movies. And I can't imagine what it must be like for him to sit in a meeting with these executives at these studios and have the same freaking conversation every time. And the conversation is always the same. It's like, Joe, thanks for coming in. We just want to tell you we were looking at the dailies, and you're doing a great job on this film. Oh, thanks. I appreciate it. It's great to be putting this vision on the screen. Yeah, we had some notes, and our major notes are, your movie is too violent. We don't want it to get an R rating, so you have to shoot for PG-13 or lower, and we're cutting the budget. That's happened on all his movies. Explorers ends the way it does. If you've ever seen Explorers, it has an incredible setup. And in the ending, you're like, what am I watching? Oh my God, this is nuts. Well, that's because the studio said, we want the movie now, lock picture, and cut the budget, and whatever you've got, we'll edit into a movie. Thank you, Joe, bye. Gremlins 2, they basically said, make whatever movie you want. We want a Gremlins sequel. He delivered a crazy sequel. And then they didn't know what to do with it. They didn't know how to market it. I remember going to see it opening night and just like, this movie's insane. Oh my God. I loved Inner Space. I think I did a whole episode on Inner Space. But, oh my God. Small Soldiers, same issue. He has greenlit a film that's going to be this edgy teen movie about toys that are being embedded with military-grade chips who become self-aware and then try to kill this kid to get to their perceived plastic toy enemies. It's basically, after watching it again just now, it's basically they wanted a Toy Story, a live-action Toy Story where Buzz Lightyear was a bad guy. And that's what they got. The problem is that going in so late in the game and telling Joe he has to fix or change the movie to their specifications ruins the film. And, it's so frustrating because the concept of Small Soldiers is brilliant. This idea that the toys come to life and they're battling each other lends itself to what should be a classic. It should be a summer classic. And instead, it's a movie that people remember. It has a cult following, and the collectibles for this movie are through the roof price-wise because people are now discovering how good it is and wanting to collect the toys, and the toys are really expensive. I've sold a few Small Soldiers toys over the years. I've never thought to try to collect the whole line because by the time I decided I wanted to or might try, the prices are way beyond me. But summer 1998, I had been a father for about a year and a half. So Luke is 1.5 years old, and this was a big summer movie with arguably what makes it a summer movie as far as like, what boxes do you have to check off? Big studio release, check. Genre pick, check. Plot, I can say in one sentence, toys come to life, try to kill each other, check. Happy Meal line. Toy line. If it's got a Happy Meal line and a toy line, it's a big summer-ass movie. And this movie had a big Burger King toy line. So we took Luke to Burger King all the time to collect all these toys. When the toys came out, I bought a few. Now they were higher end, so I didn't buy a lot of them. But I remember buying 12-inch Archer, 12-inch Chip Hazard, some of the action figures. They have little micro sets. But this also had, the animated bank, the bedding, the dishware, so you could eat your meal with the Small Soldiers, posters, everything they could squeeze the license into, they did. Because the studio was expecting a franchise, that there were going to be 3 or 4 of these. And there should have been. But the movie that made it to the screen, it's just not, it's missing pieces. And I don't know if that's because they didn't film them, they're on the cutting room floor, or that the idea wasn't explored far enough to make it good. So the movie is about this rich tycoon who buys a toy company and he fires everybody from their executive staff and only keeps 2 people, played by Jay Moore and David Cross, and it's Dennis Leary. And he tells them, he's basically playing Dennis Leary. There was a while in the movies where Dennis Leary just played Dennis Leary, like The Ref and Demolition Man and Small Soldiers. But that's okay, because that's a good character that he plays. And he tells them he wants them to make a line of toys that will appeal to boys and make a lot of money. And one of the coolest things he does is he says, we're going to stick a lithium battery in it so that they never run out of juice. And that's great because it shows you what kind of guy he is, but it also says to the audience that once these toys are activated, they're never going to run out of juice. So the movie isn't, let's take his battery out. That's cool that it takes that plot point out of reach, you know. But, you know, they make the toys, and they have only 3 months to do it, so that means they can't focus study them. So the toys just get made and then are shipped to stores. And they're going to be released on a certain day, that's all really good setup. Why the toys exist, what they're capable of, and when will they become active. That's very important to the structure of the film, because when our hero, we meet this kid, Alan Abernathy, who, for some reason, they gave him all these problems. Like, he's this what's what I'm looking for? Teen hooligan, you know, he's a juvenile delinquent, and his family has moved to a small town to de-stress and let this kid start over and earn their trust again. But it's all told really strange, and the kid doesn't, this is going to sound terrible, he doesn't look like that kind of kid. Like, they didn't give him like a hip haircut or a couple of piercings or, you know, a Black Flag jacket or Rancid or Dead Kennedys. Like, nothing like that. He looks like Kevin in Home Alone. But every time they talk to him, they react to him as if he's one step away from stabbing somebody. And his father gets angry very quickly with him. It's a very strange character setup. I know that it's there so that you can sympathize with him, hope for redemption, and more importantly, when he does tell things that seem outlandish, that no one will believe him. It's kind of like Chunk in Goonies, except Chunk is, you know, he's funny. You know, when he says, hey, I just saw a chase and the police, I just saw the chase, like, you got to send the police. You know, so the Fratellis are escaping, and the guy's like, look, are you the same kid that called here last summer about those little creatures that multiply in water? That's really a funny reference, and it sets up Chunk's character. But Alan Abernathy is just set up as this horrible guy. Horrible. And yet, he works at his father's upscale learning toy shop called The Inner Child, which I actually got to visit when I was on the Warner Brothers tour. I was actually in that storefront, which is very cool. To get to that storefront in the movie, they actually drive through the Orange Circle, which was really cool because we know that area very well now. And to see it in the movies again after that thing you do, like, okay, that's good. Small town America look. I get it. But the kid wants to, his father's going away for a conference. He's flying somewhere, which this is part of the movie's problem. He has a plane ticket and he's leaving in his car. And the kid is going to show him that he can do something. So while his father is gone, he's going to he's going to convince the Heartland Toys guy to give him a full set of the new Elite Commando Small Soldiers toys. And he's going to sell them quick and show his dad he can make them. He'll pay off the toy guy and then give his dad the profit. It's all done very quickly. And weird because immediately we're set up with a love interest in Kirsten Dunst. We're set up with the home life, which is chaotic because the parents don't trust him. And then the neighbor guy is Phil Hartman, who is this techno geek, who is this loutish jerk-off. And he's trying to cut down their tree. The guy's trying to relax. There's a little bit of the Dietzes from Beetlejuice, where they're out in the country to relax, and it's just not working out. And Phil Hartman, God bless him, this is his last film role. He died right before the premiere of this movie, so I don't think he even got to see it. He is playing one of the most Phil Hartmaniest characters that Phil Hartman has played. It's a variation of the same character from Jingle All the Way. That makes sense if you've seen that movie, and I have quite a bit because I'm a dork. But all this is set up so quickly because we just want to get to the toys. The problem in the beginning, the first 30, the problem we have is we're told that the Commando Elite are going to kill the Gorgonites, and that the Gorgonites are trained to lose because they were originally supposed to be learning toys. That's it. When the toys get opened, that's all we know. Now, they're not like Toy Story in that they're supposed to freeze when people come in the room. These toys are designed to interact with people. So there's a little bit of weirdness at the beginning where the toys are playing dumb. Like he's like, Dad, the toy talks to me, and then the toy doesn't talk. But there's no reason other than Archer says, well, you told me to shut up. And I'm like, no, that's really strange. You know, and Chip Hazard has none of that. You know, Tommy Lee Jones is Chip Hazard. Frank Langella is Archer. And in weird casting moves, they cast most of the Dirty Dozen as the Commando Elite, and then Spinal Tap as the Gorgonites. It's very strange. I know that it must have been Joe Dante wanting to do an inside joke for himself. I get it. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you know what's going on screen, it is a little distracting hearing these voices come out of these characters. Now, the Dirty Dozen makes sense. The Gorgonites' Spinal Tap is a little weird. Very weird. So, in short order, Abernathy takes Archer home, and while he's gone, the Commando Elite destroy the store, trying to kill the Gorgonites. And the Gorgonites hide, so the next day, they have to find the Gorgonites, and they have to find Chip Hazard and stop him before he completes his programming by killing the Gorgonites. Now, all of this could be stopped in an instant if the Gorgonites just said, look, Alan, we're toys. So why don't we just walk out there and get destroyed, and then the Commando Elite will power down because they've finished their mission. And there's a little bit of like, Chip Hazard's like, well, you are Gorgonite loyalist, and you must die too. It's a little muddy, and again, it's muddy because we never get the gist of who these characters are. They never have a moment like, you know, in Toy Story, like we get Woody. Woody's this cowboy guy who loves he loves Andy, and Buzz Lightyear's on his territory, and Buzz is this persnickety, by the books guy, and he tells you, like, I protect the galaxy from the threat of invasion, and Chip has, like, we are here to destroy the Gorgonites, but that's it. There's never any backstory, like, why are they going to kill the Gorgonites? Why are the Gorgonites the way they are? You have to really pay attention in the beginning to get this, because it is doled out quickly. Boom, we're going to get to it. Boom, we're going to get to it. And that's because I'm sure it was a studio mandate. If it's called Small Soldiers and they're going to have a big war, then they got to have a big war. Because before you know it, the Commando Elite are in the garage building these weapons of destruction that shoot saw blades and fireballs and corn on the cob skewers, and it turns violent quick, which is not a problem, except tonal wise, the movie has an identity crisis because it's never really all out war. And I know that they filmed it because at the end of the movie, you can see that the Abernathy's home is like destroyed. The porch has been blown up and it's crashed down. That is never shown in the movie. So I'm not sure where that was or why that happened. There's some great turns of events where the Commandos decide to kidnap Kirsten Dunst because they know that Abernathy's got a relationship with her. So they get in her house, drug her parents, and her parents are suddenly Phil Hartman and Wendy Shaw, and that was never established. It was established that she lived next door, but it was never established that these two really gross characters are her parents. It comes out of left field. Unless I missed a line of dialogue, it comes out of no... He never is like, well, my daughter goes to school with your son. Hartman never says that. He never says that. It seems wedged in there. But the Commando Elite go and they Frankenstein all of her Barbie dolls, which are in the film Gwendy dolls. And then the dolls are these mutants that are running around. It's a lot like Sid in Toy Story. The movie does bear more than a passing resemblance to the events of Toy Story, but in a more PG-13-ish way. And in a reverse of Toy Story, this is why I remember these movies. In a reverse of Toy Story, see, Toy Story came out, and the toys were all Mr. Potato Head, Slinky Dog, Woody, Buzz. They were the soft characters. And there was a demand late in the summer because Toy Story was a Christmas movie. There was a demand late in the Christmas season for toys of Sid's mutant characters, Babyface and Roller Bob. I even know their names because it's ridiculous. But people wanted those toys. The soft toys, the softer character toys were good, and they're perennial sellers. But there was a need that people wanted for those weird characters. So on Small Soldiers, when the film came out, they had all the Gorgonites available, all the weird characters. You could buy every Gorgonite in the film, and then Chip Hazard, and people instead were like, well, we want the Commando Elite. So they quickly released the Commando Elite characters, and I think those are the rare ones now. But the toys also suffer from the same exact issue that the first Toy Story toys did, and that's once you get past the Buzz and Woody that look like the ones in the movies, there were action figures to collect of all the characters. But all the characters had fake joints because they wanted to make a toy of Buzz Lightyear on the cheap, so they removed everything but moving his arms and legs. Arms at the shoulders, legs at the waist, that's it. Eventually they would come out with other characters that were fully posable, but they did have a bunch of characters with fake joints, which is just, as a kid, you're trying to, you give the toy to the kid. The kid's like, what the heck? The toy doesn't even do what it does in the movie. And Small Soldiers had the same issue where the Commando Elite figures had fake joints sculpted into the toys, but they didn't really move like that. And that's a bummer. Now, they did have, like I said, 12-inch toys of Archer and Chip, and those are high-quality toys. They look like the ones in the movie. Archer especially. Now, the 12-inch Chip Hazard didn't because it was a G.I. Joe body with cloth clothing. They did make a 12-inch plastic Chip Hazard that talked with a light-up belt buckle, and that one is probably the most movie-accurate toy they made, and if I had to guess, probably the most expensive. Tommy Lee Jones as Chip Hazard, he is chewing the scenery. You can tell he's having a really good time with this movie. Every line of dialogue out of his mouth is a variation of some war movie. He does a tribute to Patton, and instead of being a full flag behind him, it's a puzzle of a flag. He's addressing the troops. He makes a lot of really subtle jokes that are only for the adults in the audience, and I thought that was very clever. Frank Langella as Archer is very good. The only problem is that, again, he's just not given a lot to do. Archer and Alan are supposed to have this E.T.-like relationship. And instead, you don't really get it because Archer doesn't do anything. He doesn't even take a stand against Chip Hazard until the very end of the movie. And even then, it's cut pretty short. Again, I know the movie was neutered by the studio, and that's unfortunate because a Blu-ray of Small Soldiers with all of that footage back in would probably be a pretty big seller. If you're listening, Shout Factory, good luck getting that movie out of, I think it's Universal or Warner Brothers, because they don't let other studios take a crack at these movies. These movies get released in a bare bones, maybe a Blu-ray with a couple of things, but never a full restoration of what the director intended. And that's unfortunate because there's a great movie in there. And you know what? I think it's a 20th Century Fox movie. Yeah, it is, because because when Disney bought Fox, they discovered that they had been secretly planning a remake of Small Soldiers, and it got killed. Oh, that sucks. And it's never going to happen. This is a movie that's never going to get a second chance. It had its one shot, its toy line, and now it's gone, which is unfortunate because one of the main reasons to watch this movie is Stan Winston's special effects work. This is the guy who made the Queen Alien, directed Pumpkinhead, made the dinosaurs, the Velociraptors, the giant T-Rex, the T-800, Terminator skeleton. Like, Stan Winston his studio is legendary. He, although he passed, will remain forever one of the top guys in special effects. The things he did make cinema. And I don't think they got a lot of credit for Small Soldiers, because coming on the heels of, after Jurassic Park, a lot of movies just boom in a row, all CGI, bad CGI. A lot of movies were greenlit with bad CGI. It doesn't hold up today. It all looks dodgy. But Small Soldiers has a big chunk of it that's practical puppets. Whenever the actors, for the most part, are interacting with the toys, they're real. They're rod puppets, and they're amazing. And you can tell. The eye lines match up between the actors and the toys. You can tell that they're in the scene. There are some CGI parts, more than I'd like, because every time they switch to CGI, you can totally tell, because they don't move like the puppets do. And the puppets are really the Small Soldiers. They really are. So, big thank you to Stan Winston and his team for bringing these toys to life in a way that it's just mesmerizing on screen. They look real. The toys look like they're doing what they're doing. That's where I put it. It's not on par with the writing of Toy Story. Definitely not. But as far as ambition, it's right there. It's right next to it as far as we're going to make toys come to life, but it's going to be, with real people. Yes, there's going to be a lot of scenes with the humans because we got to keep the budget at a certain level, but this was a pretty big movie. Now, it did pretty well at the box office. Not well enough to garner a sequel, which is too bad. I don't know where they would have gone. What happens in the film is the Commando Elite build these vehicles. They all connect Voltron style, and when they chase the two heroes on a scooter, the Commando, their vehicle crashes and burns, and Chip Hazard is all disfigured, which is funny because Tommy Lee Jones played Two-Face, and now the Chip Hazard character, half his face is melted. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but it is pretty funny. But then the movie does a really logical thing in that Chip Hazard finds the toy store where all of the other toys are, and he activates an entire army. It's the equivalent of Stripe jumping into the fountain at the end of Gremlins and about to make an entire army. He does make an army, right? But it does it's a lot like Gremlins in that respect. It's a Gremlins Toy Story, and that's pretty obvious. Those are the two tones of the film. It's just frustrating because watching it, I know there's a better movie in there. Even with even with another editing pass, because some of the weird things are, Kirsten Dunst has a boyfriend that disappears sort of most of the movie. He's only there to make Alan, act as a better person and prove that he's good enough for her, even though she's into his bad boy stuff. It's all over the map character-wise. They're just throwing all this stuff at the wall to see what sticks. Oh, he's a bad boy. Oh, she likes bad boys, but he wants to impress his father by being a good guy. Oh, but I don't know. I have no idea. The Gwendy stuff is great. Their voices are Sarah Michelle Gellar and Christina Ricci. It comes across. Their lines of dialogue are really funny, and the character designs of those are great. I'm in a movie prop group on Facebook, and there are people who own these figures in their collection. They have Commando Elites, they have Gorgonites, they have Gwendy dolls, and they're just stunning puppets. They look so real because, they're supposed to look like toys, so they did their job. It's great. Now, I remember reading a toy magazine probably a year before this movie came out, before we saw a trailer, when it's just a title, Small Soldiers, Toys Battling. Here's the movie I expected. I expected the movie to be that they made these toys to battle each other, and they accidentally opened themselves up at the toy store. And so, while the store is closed, they have a huge battle in the toy store. And it goes on so long, and it's so involved that I thought the movie would be like Lord of the Flies, where, Lord of the Flies, at the end, the adults just walk in and go, "What are you guys doing?" And you go, "Oh my God, that's right, they're kids." And I thought Toy Store would be like, oh, that's right, they're toys. I got so involved in this story that I forgot they were toys, and somebody just turns them off or something. You know what I mean? But I always say, you have to review the movie you got, not the movie you wanted. I get that. Again, it's frustrating. It's a frustrating movie. And I watched 2 in a row frustrating movies, because the other movie I watched was the He-Man movie, Masters of the Universe. And that's another movie that, if they just had a little more time and a little more money, they wouldn't have made something that Small Soldiers just misses the mark. Masters Universe really misses the mark. But that's another episode, my friends. Another episode. I hope you are doing well in this quarantine. Hope that you're not going crazy. I watched Bill and Ted Face the Music, so I got to do an episode on that too. I've got movies to review. I have been busy. I've been watching movies in between episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation. So, take care, my friends. Thank you to all my Patreon pledgers. You guys are so generous. Every dollar you pledge the show, I'm so humbled by it. You have no idea. If I was going to turn it off this month, because I know we went in lockdown again here in California. So if you're listening and you didn't expect that money to come out of your account, you send me an email. And whatever you pledged, I will give back, because I know things are really lean right now. And if you can't afford it and you messed up and I messed up, then we messed up together, and I will make it right, because we only want this show to be positive. It could have been really easy to sit down and talk about some of the nastiness that I dealt with this week. But I'm not that guy. And I don't ever want to be that guy. And I see people who do that every day. And I say to myself, I'm not going to be that person. I'm going to stay the positive guy that I am, because I'll live longer. Life is mostly your attitude. I got to lose a few pounds. I know that. So I got to lose a few pounds and keep my attitude. And if I do that, I'll live to be 120. Not that I want to. See, I'm punch drunk. Thanks for tuning in, folks. There'll be another episode in just a couple of days on the channel you call what? 91 Reasons.
Thanks for listening to 91 Reasons. Please subscribe and leave a review on iTunes. Find us on Facebook. Is anyone even still listening?
Commando Elite. Commando Elite, fall in. Tail dog, soldiers. Twitch meat hook, sniper. Lethal from any distance, sir. Good to have you aboard. Dick Nitro, demolition is my mission. Served with your father, he's a good man. Brick bazooka, artillery, ready to go full bore, sir. Save it for the enemy.
Link static. Communications. Awaiting dispatch of orders, sir.
Double up on your rations, Sparky. Kip Kelligan, Covert Sergeant, sharp as a razor. Sir, let me see that weapon. Standard issue is insufficient. All right, ladies, now listen, and listen good. Our mission, destroy the Gorgonite enemy, defeat him. Yes, sir. There will be no mercy. Search the area and secure new arms. Commandos, full power.
Well, that wasn't such a chore now, was it?